Three American nameplates fight for space in the Australian ute market in 2026, and every single one of them gets to you the hard way. None of them roll off a right-hand drive line. They're built left-hand drive in the United States, then physically converted after the fact, engineered. In other words, for a market they were never originally designed to serve. That conversion process is where this list lives or dies. Quick thing before we get into it, if this is useful, hit subscribe now so you don't miss where this goes. 7 entries, 3 trucks, where the conversion, the recalls, and the complaints stack up against you. 4, where the reputation is actually earned. And the split isn't random, it follows the engine bay almost perfectly. Starting with the truck, Ford itself admits has been a problem. Number 7. The Ford F-150. Since it launched in Australia in late 2023, the Ford F-150 has carried what Ford's own program director for its international markets group publicly called teething problems. That's not a customer complaint, that's Ford. The list is long. A turbocharger fault forced a stop sale in January 2024 before the truck had even settled into showrooms. Headlights sourced from the US had to be locally modified because they didn't meet Australian design rules out of the box. A fix Ford has only now solved properly for the facelifted 2026 truck by sourcing. Headlamp clusters with Australian-specific internals straight from the factory. A defective steering rack intermediate shaft needed replacing. An August 2025 recall covered a rear hub bolt issue, catching every F-150 Ford had sold in Australia at that point. And in November 2025, Ford recalled just over 3,000 trucks because a fuel vapor line could rub against a coolant hose, risking an engine bay fire. Ford's fix going forward is a new quality control process. At RMA Automotive, the Thai company that handles the left-to-right conversion in Melbourne, along with a re-engineered steering rack and a new wiring architecture baked into the facelifted truck. The intent is genuine. But it also means the company is admitting the first 3 years of Australian F-150 ownership were effectively a supervised beta test. If a truck engineered for right-hand drive from day one sounds appealing right about now, wait until you hear what's been happening with the segment's most established American nameplate instead. Number 6. The Ram 1500. Ram's local conversion operation is the most established of the three. The brand recently celebrated remanufacturing its 35,000th vehicle in Australia, but scale hasn't insulated it from trouble. In December 2025, Ram Trucks Australia issued a dual recall spanning the 1,500, 2,500, and 3,500 lineup. One fault involved airbag inflators. The other, arguably scarier, could cause the instrument cluster to go completely blank while driving. No speed readout, no warning lights, nothing. Earlier, local campaigns have covered a manufacturing defect that could cause several hundred trucks to catch fire, a separate software fault that could cause a loss of vehicle control in close to 6,000 trucks, and a separate visibility-related fault affecting over 2,500 vehicles. Zoom out to the US data feeding these same generation trucks, and the picture gets murkier still. Owners of 2025 and 2026 model year 1500s report parasitic battery drain that leaves the truck dead overnight, infotainment screens that freeze or glitch, and wireless charging pads that overheat rather than charge a phone. None of it is catastrophic in isolation, but an instrument cluster that can go dark mid-drive is a safety fault dressed up as an inconvenience, and it's serious enough that Chrysler's parent company had to cite 3 separate federal safety standards just to describe what could go wrong. Bad wiring and blank screens are one thing. What happened inside the most popular American V8 on Australian roads is a different order of problem entirely. Number 5. The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. This is where the segment's reputation actually took its hit. GMSV's Silverado 1500 runs the same 6.2-liter L87 V8 fitted across a huge slice of General Motors' American lineup, and that V8 turned out to have a serious flaw: connecting rods and crankshafts built with debris in the oil passages, or parts machined out of specification. The result, in the worst cases, is complete engine failure, not a warning light, not gradually declining performance, but the engine simply stopping. General Motors' global recall over this defect covers 721,000 vehicles, and 9,451 of them are Silverado 1500s delivered right here in Australia. What makes this entry sting more than a typical recall is the way some owners describe the process afterward. Replacement engines fitted under terms that reportedly required signing a non-disclosure agreement before GM would proceed. A brand new truck with a brand new engine and a gag order attached. That's not the kind of thing that shows up in a brochure. And here's the turn in this story, because everything changes once you leave the half-ton RHD converted trucks behind and step up into the segment these companies actually built their reputation on. If you're finding this useful, now's a good time to subscribe, because the next 4 trucks are where this list flips completely. Number 4. The Ram 2500. For 2026, Ram gave its heavy-duty range, its biggest overhaul since 2021, and almost everything about it addresses the weaknesses further down this list. The 6.7-liter Cummins inline-6 now produces 313 kilowatts and 1,458 newton-meters of torque, a 13 and 26% jump, respectively, over the outgoing engine, paired with a new 8-speed automatic replacing the old 6-speed. Reviewers who've driven it back-to-back against loaded caravans have called it one of the most comfortable long-distance vehicles they've tested in any category, supple enough on the road that towing 3.5 tons barely registered as effort. Pricing didn't move despite the mechanical overhaul. This is the same Cummins architecture that spent decades building a reputation for surviving hundreds of thousands of kilometers without drama in American work trucks, now landing in Australia in its most powerful local form yet. If that sounds impressive, the next entry takes the exact same engine and asks it to do even more. Number 3. The Ram 3500. Where the 2500 is Ram's all-rounder, the 3500 exists purely to answer one question: how much can you physically tow behind a ute-shaped vehicle? With the same overhauled Cummins 6-cylinder available in a high-output specification, the 3500 is rated to pull up to 8 tons on a braked hitch and carries a gross combined mass north of 14 tons, figures that put it closer to a light truck than anything else on this list. It shares the 2026 update's new transmission and its black pack styling, and while a small January 2026 recall did catch 79 examples of the 2500 and 3500 over a stability control fault, that's a rounding error next to the recall counts stacking up on the half-ton trucks further up this countdown. For grey nomads and serious towing operators, this isn't a compromise pick. It's the vehicle the whole heavy-duty conversation gets built around. But there's another American heavy-duty diesel fighting for exactly the same buyer, wearing a different badge and carrying a different kind of proof. Number 2. The Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD. Where the Silverado 1500 dragged the segment's reputation down, its heavy-duty sibling does the opposite. Under the bonnet is a 6.6-liter Duramax turbo diesel V8, making 350 kilowatts and 1,322 newton meters. Genuinely GM's own answer to the Cummins 6-cylinder, and one built on a platform with a long, proven history of shrugging off hard work. GMSV's local LTZ premium specification is a fixed mid-pack trim rather than the full breadth of what's available in the US market, missing some of the flagship features American buyers can option in. But strip away the trim level debate, and what's left is a genuinely capable, road-proven heavy tow truck, up to 4.5 tons braked, that hasn't been caught up in the engine failures dragging down its half-ton stablemate. It's proof that the Silverado nameplate isn't the problem. The 6.2-liter petrol V8 in the wrong application was the problem, which leaves one entry left. and it's the truck that pushes the Duramax platform, about as far as it goes in this market. Number 1. The Chevrolet Silverado 3500 HD. This is GMSV's, and arguably the segment's, statement vehicle, the same 6.6-liter Duramax underneath, but built into a chassis engineered specifically for dual rear-wheel configurations and maximum payload rather than outright speed or refinement. It's the truck GMSV built for buyers who were never cross-shopping a mid-sized dual cab in the first place. Horse float operators, fifth-wheeler owners, tradies hauling plant equipment that a Hilux or a Ranger simply can't touch. Like its 2500 HD sibling, it's escaped the connecting rod and crankshaft failures that defined the Silverado 1500's year, because it's simply a different engine built for a different purpose. And that's really the story this entire list tells. Every single recall on this countdown, from the F-150's fuel line, to the Ram 1500's blank instrument cluster, to the Silverado 1500's catastrophic V8 failure, happened on the trucks trying to compete as everyday, high-volume dual-cabs trucks squeezed through a conversion process built for scale rather than precision. Every genuine reputation on this list belongs to the trucks built to do one job without compromise: the Cummins-powered Ram heavy-duty range and the Duramax-powered Silverado HD range. Buy an American Ute in Australia in 2026, chasing badge and horsepower figures alone, and you're gambling on a supervised RHD conversion process that's still working out its kinks. Buy the specific heavy-duty model with the specific proven engine built for the specific job you actually need it for, and you're buying into the exact reputation these two brands spent decades earning back home. In this segment, right now, that distinction is the entire difference between the truck that gets recalled twice in 1 year and the one that just quietly gets the job done.